Once again, hello and welcome back. This is still Daybreak Africa. We just tuned in, reaching from Studio saying Ondo City. I remain Ezekiel, Ogar. This morning it's more like a continuation of our previous topic with Nas in the house. We'll be discussing child mental health. Jayeola Bethel was here some time ago, and it was more like it was inconclusive, as Michael will always say.
Of course.
And we really couldn't wait to have her here again. Welcome on Daybreak Africa once again.
A very good morning to you. First of all, I must say you're looking very beautiful. Let's go from this. I would like to refresh our memory going back to mental health as it's a topic on its own. Most people on the street of, let's say, Africa, when you talk about somebody's not mentally fit, they just feel like this person is mad. So that's why they just feel like, okay, this person is not feeling fine, he's mad or she's mad. So you as a person, what is your take on mental health as generally?
Okay, thank you for the question. Just like you said now, when we talk about mental health, it's not about how the individual performs. It covers the overall areas of life, how an individual is able to thrive, both physically, spiritually, socially, career-wisely, financially, in all areas. But most of the time, when a person is psychologically disturbed in one way, we term such a person a mad person. But when we are talking about mental health, it's the overall health of humans, of individual as a whole. So let me just take for example, as I'm seated here, if I'm not emotionally okay, I can't say I'm in a good mental health. Or if I have an issue with my career, I'm not going to say I'm in a good mental health. So when we talk about mental health, it covers every aspect of an individual's life.
So you made mention of a lot of things, but one of them really caught my eye and my attention. There is the spiritual aspect of it. When you said how we function, the physical and everything, but the spiritual. Please, can you shed more light on that?
Can I expatiate on that? Thank you very much. We are all humans who are religious beings. We have, let me just stamp it, a God that we serve, we trust, and we believe is a superhuman or a sovereign person who is in control and in charge of our life. So talking about the spiritual aspect, if I feel, okay, my relationship with such being, the spirit being now, my relationship with such being, or the way I interact, the way I get guidance and direction is like, is not cordial, and I'm not really in touch with such a being. I won't be mentally okay. Because, you know, even in this generation in which we see young people now called man of God, women of God, and everybody just blasting in tongue, you know, doing exploits spiritually, and you are just in a corner, can't even figure out where you are in your relationship with God, how you are coping. You hear people saying, I had God tell me this is how I should go, this is the career I should venture in, this is the business I should go into, and there you are just confused. It's like you are in dark, there's no light in your path. You are going to be affected. It would affect how you function, it would affect how you behave, your behavior, how you are able to coordinate yourself. So all this culminates to affect our mental health.
So the last time you were here, you spoke about cuddling as one of the factors that actually enables the child mental health. And I tend to wonder the effects of relationship on the child mental. Effects of relationships on the child mental. I see family relationship, friends, and level of exposure.
Exactly.
How does this actually, if you could actually explain it one after the other, family, friends, and level of exposure, how does this actually affect a child?
A child's mental health. Okay, I would like to start like this. That after a child is being born, more of the mental health or brain development is dependent on the experiences and the environment in which that child is. So we would always encourage parents and caregivers, you know, to create or provide a healthy place which will give every child an opportunity to learn and grow.
So sorry to cut you short at this point, but talking about a conducive environment. Now, I've seen persons, I mean, children where they were given the best environment, you know, the best environment. I would not to really put it, say they were living a life of affluence, but I mean, it was okay. It was above par, and yet they actually turned out to be sadists or not actually turn out to be the best in society. And even those that were given less opportunity and so less entitlements turns out to be good. So is it really a factor?
It is a factor, but I would still say there are so many other factors that still affect. For example, talking about a child, you know, that has a good and healthy space, environment, experiences, and yet in one way or the other, such child's mental health is still being affected. Other things that could affect is the state of the physical health now. A child, you know, that is not being given a good health care, or maybe the vaccine is not updated. Now talking about the health aspect. And then secondly, talking about peer pressures all around also affect, apart from the immediate family or the environment. External factors, other external factors apart from the internal factors, the parents, the siblings are exposing such a child to. So external factors outside the home, in the place of work, even talking about social media, parents don't have control over that exposure. Just imagine, let's take that child for an example, who is in a very good environment and space, a very healthy space, but is exposed to different kind of, you know, evil things, masturbation, drugs, to social media. All that would affect the mental health of such a child. So all this culminates to the brain development or the mental health of a child.
Now, I tend to wonder the angle of friendship. Now, some family actually feel it's better to probably lock a child at the house. You know, they believe going out, it's expose them to
bad friends,
to negative influence, bad friends, and all that. So, but for some, they believe giving the child that space to, you know, go out, mingle, you know, maybe have that experience. They believe the negative and positive experience actually builds up a person. I don't know which school of thought should be the best at this point.
About this, let me say, I was a victim when we were much younger. I am my siblings, you know, because our parents are the busy type, maybe from work, go to church, and this triangle kind of life. So sometimes they just lock us inside and be like, you must not go out, don't play with your neighbors, don't play with any friends, and all those. But thank God today we are doing fine. So I would say, just like you said, I feel there is nothing that has an advantage and does not have a disadvantage. So we can't necessarily say this one will be better, why this one won't. It all depends on the parents' initiative and also depending on the environment. If you feel, okay, the neighbors are the type of people that would influence your children positively, it's a good one. You allow them to mingle, you expose them to the neighbors. And if you feel, okay, what you see them doing is something that will affect your child negatively, you might not necessarily be able to curb the child by locking the door, but it's something you can sit the child down and then explain things to him or her. This is the situation. Do you know that if you join this side with this kind of behavior, this is how you are going to end in. So if these children have an understanding of what they are being exposed to, the repercussion, the consequences is going to have on them, at least on their own, they should be able to make decisions. Because just imagine, then we were young, they locked doors inside and all those kind of stuff. Now that we are in our own, you know, space, independent, outside home, exactly. But if we have been given that understanding, and we have this understanding and this knowledge that if you engage in this, if you expose yourself to this, this is the repercussion, this is how it's going to affect you in future. future, we'll be able to make, a sole decision on ourselves, and which will help us.
So what
that's
you're
my
saying,
answers regarding that.
It's more like there is no formula per se.
At all, there's no
You
principle.
just have to derive what works for you and your family.
Exactly.
Now, let's retrace our steps back. There are things I used to wonder a lot, okay, when we talk about hereditary and things that, okay, the part a mother plays in the life of a child when you're still pregnant.
Okay.
So are there things that, maybe bad habits of mothers that can possibly be transmitted to children while they were still inside? I don't know, let's say maybe things that they are doing during pregnancy that can affect the mental state of a child.
Okay. I would like to understand the question. Are you just asking?
The first one is,
okay,
bad habits, maybe possibly what they are eating, things they are doing during
sure,
pregnancy.
Sure.
That's one. Then secondly, are they kind of hereditary kind of things that, okay, when you give birth to a child, maybe you are not eating anything bad, but maybe your own kind of mental state that you are as a parent can affect the child that you've not given birth to?
Because in our African setting, it's very believed the attitude of parents is usually passed down to the kids.
You are taking after
So
your
is
father.
it really superstition or there's probably a trait?
medical thing that is backing it up.
Exactly. I think from the last section I explained that during pregnancy, more of the child's brain development is being under genetic control, but it's still indirectly being influenced by what the mother takes in, personal hygiene of the mother, whatsoever the woman is involved in. But talking about the genetic control, the transfer is the biological gene, the gene, not an habit or a character. No, that cannot be transferred to gene. Like the physical appearance, the complexion, the shape of the head, all those things are biological gene inherent in the gene. So those are the things that can be transferred to the child during pregnancy. But other things, other external factors that can affect is the nutrition of the mother during pregnancy. I think I mentioned that expectant mothers are expected, to feed more, like their food regimen should include more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains. And then the exercise the woman is involved in, talking about personal hygiene too, all this affects staying, rest, stress, all these in one way or the other affect the brain development of a child. But talking about the character or the habit, that is most often transferred after the child is born. And what
But
he or she can interact
I'm
and see.
sorry to cut you short there. I've seen a situation where a father is a person that suffers from a bipolar issue. And after giving birth to a child, after the child grows up, also suffer from the same thing. So is it safe to say that this is an hereditary kind of situation?
Thank you for that. There are some, let me call it medical conditions that are transferable that we say run in families. That one is different. For example, talking about diabetes, talking about hypertension, also some medical conditions related to
What about anxiety?
mental
Is it
health.
down too?
For example, depression, all those, if it is in the family, it can also be indirectly. It is not like a kind of 100% sure or guaranteed that's going to be transferred. Talking about, let me say hypertension for an example, it runs in a family, but there's a way on individual basis that it can still be controlled or managed. So that also applies to all this bipolar disorder, talking about depression, schizophrenia, all these mental disorders. They can't indirectly be transferred to the child during pregnancy. So that is just it.
But if you said something earlier, like during pregnancy, a lot of biological movement and a lot of hereditary movements are all going on.
Exactly.
Now, a father that is bipolar,
Okay.
that has a bipolar disorder,
Yes, exactly.
later the child given birth to has this. You said it's not 100%,
Yes.
but I'm trying to get the scientific thing.
Okay,
that has happened here.
the scientific application is there are some gene, we call them dominant gene, and some recessive. So, for example, in a family of 4 children, and one of the parents is bipolar, like have a bipolar disorder, there's every probability that maybe 3 of them are free from it and one comes down with it. That is why in a family, all children are different, different character, different behavior, but still from the same couple, 2 parents coming together. So that is why I said it is not 100% guaranteed. If a family just give birth to 2 children and that children don't come up with bipolar disorder, you won't.
But it's also a factor.
But it's also a factor.
So, because if we say it's not a guarantee, we know when we talk about the genotype, we like to check and know, okay, what's the genotype, what's your blood group, and this and that before we get married. So, is it safe to say, okay, this man has a bipolar issue, is just fine, I can marry him because it's not a guarantee, though it's a factor that we can be scared of, but it's not a guarantee. It's fine to just go on with the marriage.
Yes, thank you very much. Most of this disease, just like I mentioned earlier, can be managed. So, most often when 2 individuals are coming together, maybe for marriage, the most important factors are either the genotype. Okay, the blood group is not an important factor, then the rhesus factor, either D positive or D negative. So, these other medical conditions are things that can be managed within the family and shouldn't be a major factor to be considered before coming together.
Okay.
When we talk about mental disorders in children, I tend to wonder the best form of therapy for kids. I mean, kids suffering from mental disorder, is that really the best form of therapy for them?
For kids that come up with mental disorders, normally the regimen for them is mostly still the exposure. At the point in time when they had been taken maybe to the hospital for treatment, the way they are treated is different from the way adults will be treated. In most times, adults can, be restrained, somehow be restricted. But during this point in time, families are allowed, to come, interact with the medical personnel in the treatment of such children. The children are given the opportunity, to say and tell their mind what they feel is happening in the family, what they feel is affecting them, what the father does wrong or the mother or any of the siblings does wrong that they don't like or is affecting them. So the treatment or the regimen is a kind of, how should I put it, is an intervention from both the medical practitioners, the health personnel, and also the family. And for such children, what they work more on is the experiences or their interactions with the environment. What are these children exposed to? Is it the social media aspect that is really affecting them, or is it violence in the family? Is it child abuse? Whatsoever might be the cause of such mental disorder would first be tackled, and then the child reassured that, okay, such an exposure will be taken away, or he or she won't experience such violence again. So all these are ways in which we help the child to come back to his mental state.
So for kids that tend to suffer from issues as this, as children, when they grow up, is there a tendency issues like this will still come back, or it's more like a kid's disease? So
actually,
most
mental disorders are a long-term regimen. They are not like malaria, which you are going to treat and it will go. So most of the time, they are placed on drugs. Is a condition that can be well managed. But the challenge with it is staying on drugs for a long time. It's
more like staying on drugs for the rest of your lives.
It's always tiring. Even I personally, as an health personnel, to treat malaria. I'm so sorry to say this. I hardly even finish taking my drugs. So just imagine these people, place them on daily drugs, use this in the morning every time. Maybe let's just say for the next 3 months, because they're going to place them on the drug for some months and they'll tell them to come back
to do assessments.
To do assessments, to know how they are faring. But it is most of the time a long-term regimen. So why people come down with it again is when they are not able to comply with the treatments. But people who comply with treatments, you see them doing very fine. That even after some years, you might not even know they had come down with a mental disorder before.
Okay, I have a question that I want to ask you, but it might really sound funny, but back in school we have some people, some friends, like they are adults of course, but they read and read. At the end of the day, the problem of assimilation, they can't really hold something, like grab it, like okay, they will have to read and read and read, like okay, someone will read now and the next maybe let's say 30 minutes you ask them, what's this? And they'll be like, and I read it that time, we have forgotten. Now, I, as a person, I don't know, but I felt like it's a mental issue because when you read and you can't retain is an issue. So can we say they started from small, maybe negligence didn't happen and didn't make them see it at first. So and if it has happened from when they were little, they are now adults, is there a way it can be corrected, or is just a thing that, let's just leave it that way?
For the issue of assimilation, we can't necessarily categorize it majorly as a mental issue. It is all dependent. Some can be spiritual as claimed, and some can be such individual not understanding his or herself. For example, I as an individual, I think I assimilate more at night than during the day. You can't see me reading during the day, I play, but I'm most often active during the night. So just imagine I see my colleagues reading during the day and I want to read. I would eventually not able to remember what I've read. So that is one important factor. And another factor to that can be the level of intelligence quotient, the IQ, which could also have happened right from childhood. Talking about all these challenges and issues we have mentioned. So it can be a brain development right from childhood, it can be the level of intelligence quotient, it can be such an individual not understanding the way is herself on how to read and assimilate. And then finally, let me just say, some people, if they are not also passionate about what they are into, no matter what, they won't be successful or they won't do fine in such area. Maybe they are just being pushed into it. You see them struggling, So there are so many factors contributing to that.
If it's one of the, you mentioned a lot and you spoke about the one that it can be when they were little. So is there a way that these things can be corrected, or is just a thing that you just have to let go that way?
Every mental disorder or issue, so far it is medical, can be managed. It is only spiritual issues that cannot be managed by by health personnel. So for such an individual, apart from that individual being placed on any psychotic drugs, would also benefit from psychotherapy, like therapists coming together, assisting him. Okay, this is how you are going to do it. Why don't you maybe read for just a few number of hours, go and relax, all this therapy that would assist him. So I think those are the ways such individual can be assisted.
I tend to wonder the level of attention expected by parents for words that tend to suffer from any form of mental disorder, be it anxiety. Are they expected to actually pay extra attention, as to every aspect of the kid's life for as long as, or could they really have a point where they could just relax and just let things flow medically?
The fact is, growth and development is a continuous process.
Mm.
So there's necessarily no stop. Even as adults, our parents still check on us. They're like, how you doing? Hope you've eaten today. You not sleep yesterday, why don't you sleep? You know, those kind of stuff. Though they might not really focus on some other aspects that would really affect our mental health. But I would say parents and caregivers, let me just say that some babies are born with higher intelligence quotient does not necessarily mean that they are going to be more successful than those that are not. The responsibility lies on the parents. They can help, parents, caregivers, they can help to develop a smart, intelligent, you know, good, creative, problem-solving children or individuals. So it all boils down to how we are able to help and assist, and that is why sometimes you see some parents and you feel that they are just too disciplined, and so parents are just take it easy. Every parent's goal is to see his or her child, you know, coming out successful. But because we have different thoughts and our exposure and experiences right from childhood would influence how we are also going to cater for our children and help them become successful. So that is it.
I will also want to go back again because I think I'd like us to really address every part. You made mention of the nutrition aspect of it for a woman that is pregnant, things that she's supposed to feed on. Now, if there's a deficiency due to nutrition for a child, maybe possibly the parents are not too really, let's say, advantage when it comes to financial path of life. Now, possibility are there that they might not really know that this child is deficiency in this part, and the child might grow up to that extent, to be an adult and be living with this problem. Now, if a situation like this occur, what are the kind of things that we can do to correct what has happened in the past?
Talking about the nutrition aspect now, right from pregnancy, it has influence on the mental health or the development of the child. And also after the child is being born, the nutrition or the diet given to the child also have a long way. So just like you give a scenario, probably the child is already deficient of one diet or the other. Let me just take for example maybe protein. We know that okay, protein leads to kwashiorkor, and from the appearance of the child you can see the shape and everything. The solution is still in any way to provide the child with that diet is going to be corrected, and then maybe place the child on some multivitamins or some drugs that will boost his development in one way or the other. So the solution to that is still giving such a child a nutritious and well-balanced diet. That is, if we see some of these poor children in the streets, and you take care of them, fill them with a well-balanced diet, you see them, you see from their appearance appreciating. So that is just the solution to it. Whatsoever is causing deficiency, let there be a provision of such thing, and that child will be fine.
Okay, right now is we are almost out of time. Now, in just 1 minute, what's your last word and advice to the general public when it comes to handling child's mental health and things they are supposed to, especially to pregnant women?
Thank you very much. My advice to pregnant women is to always know that their children or the baby in them is their future. So they should give what it takes. Sometimes it requires sacrifice, sometimes it requires discipline. You really want to take something craving for something that is not healthy, but you got to meditate and think that because of the future of this child in me, I will just have to put this aside and put a stop to it for now. So for pregnant women, whatsoever prenatal multivitamins are being given, you know, to aid the development, the brain development of the child, they should make sure that they take it, they are consistent with it, they feed on good balanced diet, they stay healthy, never expose themselves to different kind of, you know, infectious diseases around. And after the child is also being given birth to, they should make sure that they provide everything necessary for the child. They provide a healthy space, healthy environment that will help the child to become successful. That is my last word.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming on the program today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right, viewers, I'm very sure you've learned a lot and you've picked one or two things. You that you are not married, you might feel like, this is not for me. Of course, it's for you. You can keep it for your wife in the future. You can also keep it for your children and your husband in the future. From us here, we will be drawing the curtain and handing over to our legal studio, which will be later to give you more juicy package from them. But from us, we'll be saying bye-bye. I remain Michael Obagiri.
Have a productive day today. I remain Ezekiel Ogar.
Thank you.
Bye.